So I thought I'd do a little quick update here on the progress so far. So the engine is now, I hope is the last time I've taken it out and put it in. So those bolts are tightened, the trans mount is tightened, and then the really big thing about this particular episode is the clutch slave cylinder. So what I did is I cut into the firewall, just big old rectangle, sort of just notch the metal the way like you roll arches. So just a bunch of little cuts like every half an inch to quarter inch, and then I sort of bent it in, made a template off the clutch pedal on the sheet steel, and then cut that out, make that into a little like U shape as well. Then I made two triangles, and then I made a little box with one side bent the other way, and I welded it in the bottom, and then I welded the little template I made into that little box, and then the two triangles I put in and then welded it, and then I use this 3M seam sealer, which is, it's kind of expensive. This is like $40 for this just single tube of it, and I don't know if you can kind of tell that I just kind of went ham on it, because I really don't want water in the interior, and I really don't want it to rot out, because my weldings are not the, they look like chicken excrement. But I ignore the mess right now. This is basically just has to get de-loomed. Like the only wires I'm really keeping out of it is the positive wires. But anyway, back to the clutch. So on the inside, you can see that the clutch is kind of sitting high right now relative to the pedal. You can see that, so it's sticking quite away because the dash ends like right here. So the clutch pedal's like right over here, and it's gonna be kind of ridiculous. But for now, it's just, I basically want to master cylinder mounted, but otherwise I can just cut this off, drill holes in here, and then just use like 1/4 inch steel or aluminum or something, and then just bring it down and over. But you can see there's not a lot of flex to the firewall, which is one thing I was kind of concerned. And space was really the other thing that I was really worried about, because here, this is the mounting bolts for the fenders, and since this is a truck frame, it has an inner fender and an outer fender, and the inner fender basically just goes like, it's right up against this brake booster. I'm not even sure, I haven't really tried it yet, but I might even have to cut into it. But this is the least amount of cutting I had to do, which is because the whole slave cylinder fits, not even a finger gap between the brake booster and the slave cylinder. But otherwise, I routed the stainless steel line just right over the top, which makes it nice and convenient for me. And then this right here is the wire that's coming right from the battery for the starter, because you have this ground wire right here that goes on the inner fender and has a post for the jumper starter, for the jumper pack, sorry. And then there's another 12 volt post over here, and then this wire comes out here. I just chopped it off right at the starter on the old G-Wagon motor, and I'm just gonna run this right over the top here, just alongside this channel here, because there shouldn't be an exhaust pipe. And then I'll just take the stock CTSV battery connector, cut one of these wires which goes to the interior, but since my battery's in the interior, I really don't need that, so I'll cut that off, and then just buy myself a two-sided compression lug. That should be, you know, handy dandy. Everything should fit together like it's supposed to be there. And then a few other things I gotta still worry about is things like this, you know. This is my AC clutch wiring. There's two wires, and there's the AC clutch, and then there's the backup lamp for the transmission. So that I'm just gonna put right into here. Oh, and this, by the way, is the rear windshield, or the rear glass washer, because the whole assembly sort of goes inside between the outer fender and the inner fender, and it's just it's a tank and 3 pumps. So yeah, one of the pumps is for the rear, one of the pumps is for the windshield, and one pump is for the headlights. And then a few other weird stuff like this. I gotta just get the MAF sensor wired up. I just gotta actually start making the intake before I wire that up, so I don't have to cut it and re-splice it again. And then, so this loom right here, as you see, is coming out. That's gonna be the only thing I'm gonna be keeping from the G-Wagon loom from the front end, because the headlights, everything, I'm just gonna redo it myself. For me, it's easier. But yeah, it's these 3 solenoids right here, and then this is the vacuum pump for the vacuum system for the diff locks. So that's not too big of an issue for me. And then it has the sensor wires as well, like these right here. I even kept the original connector because this is the front and rear diff feedback. And then I have to get the transfer case feedback wire as well, but that shouldn't be that hard. I wanted to redo the diaphragm anyway, so when I take that out, I'll have to redo it. Neighbors over there having a party, but and I got the downpipes in the mail today, which have the oxygen sensor bongs and then the flex pipe of it. It's stainless, and I don't know, I just decided 40 bucks is a little bit easier than actually try to fabricate this up myself, and so I'll just put it down right over here from the cast iron collectors. I'm gonna braze on here, and this is gonna run down in this heat shield, and it's just gonna be right underneath, and I'm probably gonna do a little Y with the electronic controlled valve, just so I can have a straight pipe and then one running through a muffler, so I'm not pissing off the cops and neighbors. So and then one more thing I wanted to shoot was how I'm gonna do the actual power steering, which that should be super easy. I'm just gonna take this fitting right here, which I hope that they have the thread that goes into the power steering, and then take a 45-degree elbow, and yeah, and I'll just basically have it where it points up this way, and then 45, and then into here. And then the cooling line, which goes out of here through this hole out into this weird zigzag thing that Mercedes has that goes, and then back into this hole, and then back into this hole, and then into the actual power steering reservoir. That should cover my power steering, hopefully. And then for the radiator, I'm basically gonna have to take this end cap off right here off the tank, run a line to the steam vent over here, which honestly I should have just flipped them around or used the rear ones. But yeah, I guess I can do that later on, but as of right now, I'm probably just gonna run a steam line into here, and hopefully it's steep enough of an angle. And then yeah, so this line right here was gonna, either this one or a new one is gonna get moved over here, and then it's gonna run this path. It's there. And then the radiator, since the radiator has to be, top of it's gonna be like right here, which is still technically above the engine. I just don't really like it to be that low. And it's gonna be slightly below the steam vent line, which, so I could have just used this as an expansion tank, just gotten, you know, drilled a hole in here or something, just so this radiator cap doesn't really have to do its job anymore. But I want to keep the engine with future upgradability, which, so I can use the steam vent line over there in the back if I'm gonna have issues with cooling or something. So I bought a radiator cap. I just cheap one off of Speedway that I like. And to add on to the cooling system, I'm just gonna have to run the return from the heater core over here, run it back parallel with this heater core line. Jeez, I'm about to fall over here, but run it back alongside and then just right back into the return. And if you're wondering, this is a booster pump for the Mercedes engines. As far as I'm aware, they don't have the best cooling capabilities when it comes to heater core, because the heater core is so large. And what won't be an issue is the actual radiator itself, because I got a dual pass radiator, so specifically for Chevy, so it comes, the inlet's on top here, so you know, it has to have a radiator hose like a little S. It goes in here, then it goes, crosses over, then goes down this side tank, and then crosses right back over, and then there's the outlets right here, so it's really convenient. So either way, I'm gonna have to either get an S bend. I'm probably gonna have to actually chop this down just a little, just a hair, because I'm not sure how much gap there's gonna be here. Or I might just have to get rid of those fans and figure something else out. But for cooling, because I don't have a mechanical fan over here, which, looking at it right now, I probably could have gotten away with it, but it's just easier without. Electric fans are better anyway, because they keep blowing a lot of air through it even when they're idling. And yeah, but I'll have to maybe get like a swivel joint just so it's easier to reach in, but we'll see. AC's again done, installed. There was a lot of butchering the mounting bracket just so I can get the oil dipstick in there, because it's a GTO pan on a CTSV front end. Yeah, but yeah, I got the starter wired up, solenoid changed out, which again you'll probably see in a different video. But and I'll have to extend the actual cam position sensor, and most likely the MAF filter sensor wire, or sorry, MAF filter, just MAF sensor, because as of right now there's just not enough room to actually mount the airbox in here because of all the electrics that are going here, the fuse and the relay box, the ECU, and the vacuum pump. But here I'm just gonna have a big open space where the only thing being here is the actual AC dry right here. So I'll just swivel this whole deal 90 degrees and try to build a little aluminum box or steel, I'm not sure yet, or I can get my hands on and have the intake inlet right here, which is going to be on the side of the fender, which on this side it's on sort of towards the back, but on the passenger side it's towards the middle. And yeah, so I'll just build a box. Probably there's a really good chance this might just get slapped on there like this as of right now, because it almost fits perfectly in here. But if not, I can always just get another 90-degree silicone piece that does another 90-degree turn and just put it like right here, and just have the air box right there. And then I probably won't watertight it, but just get it so it splashes. Yeah, we'll see. It'd be nice to get a crossover pipe from the other side into the air box as well, but again, only so much you can do with the amount of space I have. What I really wish I've done, I shouldn't say wish, I had the resources to do, was to basically flip around the whole intake 180. That requires for me to take the valley pan, shave off the oil pressure sensor that's back there, then run the oil pressure sensor off the oil filter, which happens to be right over here. But at this point I have to tear apart the engine harness, and I gotta, take the valley pan and weld it, and that's a little pain in the butt. So I just decided just to make this intake work, because otherwise I would just use the stock Mercedes radiator right over here, which kind of has a lot of dead space in my opinion, because it has the intercooler and then it has the transmission cooler as well in there. But I could have ran like the oil cooler or something through it, which would have been kind of cool. But yeah, whatever. I don't have infinite money, unfortunately. Paying for all this out of my pocket. And yeah. Well, one thing I'm gonna have to figure out, I'll honestly probably just at one point just gonna have to throw this exhaust pipe away and just buy myself, a 2-inch pipe and a 2.5-inch pipe, and then just in a flange and just weld up a custom exhaust manifold, because that's hitting the bottom, like it's touching it. That's not very good. It's not like hitting it, because there's the exhaust wrap, and that's what's hitting it. But still, any sort of torque, which unfortunately will actually twist the engine from the front here, is going to twist it in that direction, counterclockwise. So I thought I'd shoot a quick update on my exhaust situation right now. I've decided to not spend $2,000, which what I was quoted by my local fab shop. I found manifolds that should work for about $700, but this is free, so well, I guess what, $5 tube, so $10 plus whatever gas and wire. But so what I did is I kind of googled around how to actually do it. Most places recommended stick welders, nickel whatever 99 stick. I did buy it. I didn't end up using it. But yeah, I kind of tried it on a scrap piece of pipe and a scrap piece of cast iron, and it didn't turn out too good. Because what you can do is usually also they recommend hot welding, which is you preheat. Throw this on a barbecue or something, or throw it in the oven if you have a hot enough oven. Your wife won't kill you. Preheat the castings, and then you can easily, weld like normal around the casting, and you just gotta put it in sand or something. Just let it cool down, or you can wrap it in a fiberglass blanket. 20 bucks from Amazon. It's pretty easy. Or sand, it's also free if you have that just laying around. But I just ended up using MIG welder, whatever wire I had, and it was actually giving me way better results than the stick. Guess I'll find out when it actually cracks the first time I start running the engine, but if it doesn't, I'll give you an update probably in this series. But yeah, you just basically weld, separate the pipe in sort of four pieces. You weld about 1/2 inch to 3/4, just a little streak, and then you do it next, like quarter way down next, and then quarter way down next, and then quarter way down next, and then you just sort of repeat this until you weld up the whole pipe, making sure that you can still easily hold, like, this area right here with your glove, so you're not, this thing isn't really expanding, so it's pretty cool, relatively cool to the touch, except the weld itself. I mean, just the round pipe is a lot easier than what this was, because this wasn't perfect, unfortunately. But yeah, I just sort of cut around. This is from a Chevy van, express van, I believe. 5.3 motor headers, and so it goes down sort of like right here, the flange, and that was hitting the frame rail. And so I just sort of cut this off where I thought it would be mostly 2-inch diameter. And then I cut this pipe to that sort of shape. I just kept cutting chunks off, see where it touches, kept cutting chunks off over and over till eventually I got mostly the shape with just a little gap right here, and the same thing on the other side. And then I tacked it a little bit. I shoved it in here, and it was hitting this area, part of the frame rail. As you can sort of see, it curves up and over, and so I had to redo my plan a little bit. So now on the inside you can see that there's a sort of a lip on top, and you can sort of see 2 wires sticking out right there. So I'm not sure I'm gonna get those, but I guess I could have ground this lip down even farther, but I was just lazy. I'm just gonna admit it. And so I had to like sort of shift this whole thing up, and then I just grabbed a hammer and then beat the crap out of the bottom where it was hidden. It sort of bulged out the sides, but what it did also gave me a little bit more room over here to actually beat this in and actually close this gap in here. That turned out pretty well. And then I just welded it up, because I tried to focus the heat mostly onto the pipe. This is mild steel, it's not stainless or anything fancy. But yeah, I tried to focus the heat in the pipe, and you can definitely tell, because you can hold it like right here with the gloves just fine, but then you grab this over here and it's just boiling. I'm sure it has something to do with heat transfer, but